Super Rugby Unlocked Saturday games. Rivals from back in the Cats days, the Lions and the Cheetahs, and the Bulls and the Sharks. So hopefully more familiar teams for me, although I've been really kind of pleased to be able to see the Griquas, the Pumas, and I guess recently the Cheetahs. But kind of more familiar names anyway to me. Not that it should matter. Watching entertaining rugby is watching entertaining rugby. Just I know a few more of the names on the field. But yeah, start with the first one, which is the Lions against the Cheetahs. Now the Lions, I think their preparation hasn't had any favors done by, I think it was 9 guys who were ruled out due to either like COVID or being close contacts of people with COVID. So yeah, their lineup is certainly missing a few people. I couldn't read that they'd named specific players who were unavailable due to being those close contacts. I know the Stormers did it with like Kitsoff and Ntubeni. I think I read Willem Alberts was maybe one. Elton Yankees is out, but that's because he's got a calf injury. I noticed there's no Odendal, there's no Jakob Kriel, so there's a few changes. So it's a bit of a disrupted build-up for the Lions, which is not ideal, seeing as they go into this one winless, whereas the Cheetahs, so far, 2 from 2. And looking pretty good. I'll go over the teams quickly, and we can talk about the odds as well. This one's on 4:30 local time on Saturday afternoon, which makes it 3:30 a.m. here in New Zealand. I will definitely be sleeping as the game is played, but I should be able to catch up on it the next day. The Lions lineup, apart from those players that I mentioned, seems relatively stable. There's a few bits of good news. Same front row with Sitole Basaki and Sadi. Schoolman Ori second row, Pelsa, Chituka and Massain is the back row, so that seems largely pretty stable, but obviously there was no Alberts in the second row where he's been playing the initial games. Lombard comes in place of Elton Yankees. Similani comes in at 13. People have been just waiting for that guy to get his starting run. Finally, he gets it. Ulengo is still there on one wing. Makwane is there on the other wing. Viljoen is there at fullback. Interestingly, they've also got Yanni Duplessis and Manus Skuman on the bench as well. So, yeah, it seems like a pretty disrupted build-up for the Lions, but I don't know, man. At home, I've still got a pretty bloody good-looking squad, so fingers crossed they're able to put in a good shift. The Cheetahs, if I'm not mistaken, have essentially kept the team exactly the same, barring the one injury they had last week, which was to their captain, Ruan Pina, who is out long term. So Tian Meyer comes in at 9. Schoolman is still there at 10. Franstein, Jens van Rensburg's 13. Speckman and Blommerkies plus Malcolm Yar makes up one of the best back threes surely anywhere in South Africa. Small Smith's on the bench. Lon de Bruin still tight head. Same front row totally. Same second row. Same back row. Pokomela interestingly takes over as captain. Someone asked me the other day. I didn't reply to the comment. I've been slack with replying to comments recently, but I still read them all. And someone asked me how I thought Pokomela had been going. Looks the business, man. He really looks the business. So that's one pleasing thing about being able to see guys like the Cheetahs. Some of these guys like Malcolm Yah, who had hardly seen, like Junior Pokomela. Even seeing like Tian Schoolman play for the first time in quite some time has been, it's been really good. So, Cheetahs by 5 is what the bookies over here say. I guess part of that's the Cheetahs being top of the log and maybe the Lions' COVID disruption, whether that's taken into account, I don't know. But Rugby Forecast, which looks more at historic metrics to predict outcomes, plus the home and away advantage, has got the Lions by 5. So I guess historically the Lions at home has been a pretty good bet. But in 2020, who knows? We'll have to wait and see. The next one is the Bulls and the Sharks. The Bulls, I don't want to say it's been a fall from grace, but since that first week, that first Superfan Saturday, the Bulls just looked far and away the best side, and the Sharks have got a bit of a chance for redemption here because it was the Sharks that were handed a bit of a hiding from the Bulls in that game a few weeks ago now. And the Bulls have somewhat been brought back down to earth. They kind of struggled through their first week and then lost last week against the Cheetahs. It was a close loss away from home, but still, they didn't quite live up to maybe a bit of the expectations. The Sharks have only had the one game. They beat the Lions in the opening round, and then they've been on the bye, which is kind of not ideal when you're trying to get a bit of rhythm, get back into the swing of things, but everyone's got to have a bye. It just so happened for the Sharks, it came in the second round, so not ideal. But yeah, this game's on at 7 o'clock in the evening, local time Saturday, which is 6 a.m., slightly more palatable for us over here in New Zealand. There's a few changes to both sides. Van Rooyen and Grobbelaar still start for the Bulls, but Marcel van der Merwe comes in at tight head. Inyakane drops to the bench, interestingly. Jenkins and Nokia are the second rowers. Van Staden, who's been one of the really best players, I think, in the Bulls thus far, is still there at number 6. Elrig Lowe comes in at number 7. I don't know his name, but I may have seen him play before. Dwayne Vermeulen's there at 8. Van Sale and Papier swap again. Jake White's sticking to that thing he said where neither of them's number 1, so he seems to be going to rotate them. Mornay staying. Conor Hendricks is back. He's at 12. Hans is at 13. Arenza is on the left wing. Ishmael's on the right wing. And David Creel's at fullback. So, yeah, it's a bit of rotation. And still a pretty good looking team. What can I say, man? Conor Hendricks' move to the midfield this year has been an interesting one for me. I haven't followed him enough throughout the years. He's just always been a winger, hasn't he? I don't know. Maybe my memory is just failing. But yeah, he's looked good when he's played in the midfield. So I think Hans probably needs to stick his hand up. He was one of the better guys in Superfan Saturday. Maybe, again, quite hasn't lived up to that billing. The Sharks, pretty stable lineup as well. I think it's just the one change from that side that played, at least in the starting 15 in the opening round. The Oxen Chair is there at, what do I call him? The Oxen Chair. The Ox or Oxen Chair is there in the loose head jersey. Richardson and Dutoy is pretty bloody good looking front row. Van Heerden and Andrews. Andrews has also been really good week after week. Well, 1 week in. And Box Showdown, very good. James Fenta, Buthelezi, Notches there, Nohamba, Bosch, and Armour's captain at 13, Marius Lowe, Cork, Libok, and Nkosi at 14. Spoon Nkosi at 14 is very, very good news. He's in for JP Peterson. Jeremy Ward's on the bench. Your Pinkler is there on the bench as well. He's a recent acquisition for the Sharks. Good to see if he can get a run. He looks like an exciting player. I haven't seen enough of him. Again, that's from me not watching the Pro 14 to any kind of great detail when the South African teams had joined in. So, yeah. The bookies for this one have got the Sharks by 1 point away from home. Interesting call. Whereas Rugby Forecast algorithm has got the Bulls by 2. So it's kind of 6 of one, half a dozen of the other, really, for that one. But, yeah. Games on Saturday in South Africa. They both should be pretty good ones. Good rivalries. Sharks and Bulls fans don't like each other. You know, got a bit of a Super Rugby final history. And Cheetahs and Lions used to be one team, at least in Super Rugby, back in the day of the Cats, when old Andre Pretorius was playing for them. I've mentioned before that I used to try and stay up in the night to watch. I don't know what it was about Andre Pretorius. I used to like watching him play. I would get up and watch the Cats play. Often they would get beaten. Often I would fall back asleep during the game because it's hard to stay up in the middle of the night. But anyway, we'll see how these games go. What do you guys reckon about the squads? If you've got any more news about some of the guys who are in or out for injury, or if it's COVID stuff, do let us know in the comments. As I said, I always read them. And who do you reckon is going to get the job done this weekend? Do you think the Bulls will show us a bit more of that early form they showed? Can the Cheetahs run go on? Sharks, are they going to get a bit of revenge after being a bit embarrassed in that Superfan Saturday? But yeah, lots to like. We will see. You guys have any thoughts? Talk to you again soon. See you later.